I earned my degree online at Arizona State University. I chose to get my degree at ASU because I knew that I'd get a quality education, they were recognized for excellence, and that I would be prepared for the workforce upon graduating. To be associated with ASU, both as a student and alum, it makes me extremely proud, and having experienced the program, I know now that I'm set up for success. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
You are listening to the On Purpose Podcast, your guide to living a more purposeful life. What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's edition of the On Purpose Podcast, where it's our privilege to show up with you each and every week to bring you stories that inspire, get you thinking, reflecting, moving a little bit. And this one's no different. This one is when I bring somebody back for a second time, I always find that to be super special because that means our friendship that we built over the first episode is continued on, and they're staying in the space of continuing to show up. Like, it wasn't a one-time deal that we were able to capture in the first time, but no, they're continuing to progress and give back and challenge their lives and the lives of those around them and continue to make it better. So this week, I'm excited to welcome back a familiar face and somebody that I would say is a force for resilience. Zanna Wolfgang, the founder of Thrive Ranch and Honor the Brave. The last time she joined us, her mission to support first responder families and help individuals move from surviving to thriving. This time, we're going to dive deeper into the lessons she learned on the journey. Because the first time we sat down and talked with her was episode 164, way back on June 9th, 2022. So over the last 3 years, we're going to figure out what she's learned about living with purpose, the importance of connection, and how intentional living can transform the lives of not only her family, but those around us. Zanna's work continues to inspire, and we're honored to have her back for what I know will be another impactful episode. So get ready to listen and enjoy this conversation with Zanna Wolfgang. Whoa. But before you do, sorry about that. Before you do, I know you just got excited there. Make sure you get over, like, subscribe, share on whatever your favorite platform is. Help us compete with the bigger podcasts in the world, because our goal, remember, isn't to be the largest, the most expensive to produce podcast. It's to be the most impactful, and that means we reach people when they need us most, and we can only do that by helping spread the word and having you help us reach more people by sharing, liking, even commenting on a social media post or a YouTube video would be greatly appreciated. And now that you've done that, enjoy this week's conversation with Zanna Wolfgang. Honor the Brave was founded by retired law enforcement officer Jeff Wolfgang and his wife Zanna after Jeff was injured in the line of duty. It's their way of giving back to the first responder and military community through real estate. If you're a military or first responder, past or present, buying or selling a home, Honor the Brave connects you with trusted realtors nationwide and gives back through their Brave benefits. You receive an amount equivalent to 10% of your agent's commission as a thank you. An additional 5% goes to a charity you choose impacting first responders or military families, and you'll receive a handmade wooden flag honoring your service. Visit honorthebrave.com. We've got your six. Zanna, my friend, what a pleasure it is to see your face on the camera, and welcome back to this show.
Oh, I'm so thankful to be here.
I was getting ready for this. I was like, all right, let me see when you were on the show. It was June 9th, 2022, and I only knew you from social media then.
Right. Lots of evolution since then, my goodness.
And I got to tell you, I'm so proud of you guys. I'm proud of you and your whole family, because as I was doing the intro for this, when I get somebody to come back a second time, it really fulfills my heart, because it means we built a bond over our first show. We stayed in connection. We created a friendship and community, which is what this is all about. And more importantly, it means that what you were doing then wasn't a flash in the pan. Like, you stayed steady. You're continuing to improve your life and improve the lives of those around you. You're dreaming. You're doing all the stuff that we try to get to our community, and that is pursue your dreams. Like, life is short.
Yes, I love that, and that's absolutely my mission every day.
And I got to meet you in person. We got to travel through and check out the Thrive Ranch and see all the animals. And I got to tell you, that was one of the highlights of our whole year 4 of traveling full time, was getting to tie the in-person connection to the online connections and meet you and really understand your story.
Yeah, it was such an honor to have you guys come through too. And I already felt like we had this friendship just because of the kindredness of our spirits. But yeah, to get to meet you guys in person just solidified that. And it was so fun. As you know, it's pretty awesome, to experience what we do here online, but to physically actually get to step foot and interact here is a whole next level experience for sure.
And I tell you what I just love about you guys is you're always looking to serve with, even though you're pursuing your dreams and it fulfills you, you always have this instinct of, okay, how do I make this serve others as well?
Yes, that's really big on my heart. And what I've gotten clear on, well, I'm ever getting clear, but what I am clear on for me right now is just I've given myself the title of dream cultivator, and my mission is to change the world one heart at a time. And both of those sound super fluffy, and it could be an eye roll for sure. But when you go a little deeper into it, it's not so fluffy. I am truly living intentionally every day. Does that mean every day is the dream? Nope. But it means that I'm intentionally doing something to be cultivating my dreams. And part of cultivating my dreams is planting seeds for others to be inspired to take some action on theirs too. And it doesn't have to be big leaps and bounds, though we've taken some big leaps and bounds, but just, being intentional about what lights you up. What lights me up is lighting other people up, whether that's through the animals or just messages that I want to share to empower people to be looking in and ever evolving to be the best versions of ourselves. And if we do that, we can't help but change the world one heart at a time, because we're going to ripple out and hopefully shine that light so bright for others to kind of find their way, and so on and so on.
Ah, I love it. Here's something that I always reflect back on too, because my goal has always been to actually change the world, right? I want to change the world, and I want to make the world a better place. And one of the ways I get to do is share stories just like yours. And one of the things I love to realize is maybe I don't change the world. Maybe that's just not in the cards for me, but maybe what is in the cards is meeting someone like you and sharing your story, and then your story changes the world. So then I still play a part in it.
Well, that's the thing, right? I don't think any one of us can change the world, but together we absolutely can collectively really do good things in this world and truly change it for the better.
And I think that's the point, right? Is too many times we sit back and go, okay, I'm just one person. It won't really make that big a difference in the scheme of things. And we let ourselves off the hook. And I love what you said about being intentional, like checking in every day and being intentional. Like, did I move the world a little bit today? Did I do something that creates that ripple?
Yeah, and you feel so much more in alignment and living in your purpose when you're just paying attention to that and
Mm.
doing something that feels like it's action, even if you're not certain where you're going, but just in action to discover where you're going, even if that's all that it is, but just not being stagnant.
Mm. And you attract like-minded people,
100%.
right? Because there's no way we'd have the friendship we had if you came on the show and were like, oh, this dude is boring and this guy is not doing anything. Like, we wouldn't have stayed in contact, but like, why did I continue following? Because like, I want to see what they're doing next, because they're not sitting still. They're going to continue to evolve. I got to see what they're doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And same with you guys. It's so fun watching your journey and just having the courage to step into the unknown, which is what you guys live every day to an extent. And
Yeah.
same with us. Man, what do we discover about ourselves when we step into kind of those uncomfortable spaces?
All right. I love it. But
Uncertain.
uncertain spaces, uncomfortable. And before I get you there, though, I got to warm you up. Like, this is still a workout show. We got to get ready.
Okay, let's do this.
I didn't actually look to see what the warm up questions were 3 years ago, but I know they're different now. So this will be fun to hear what you say. All right,
It'll be
Zanna.
fun to compare.
All right. You get to describe yourself, but it's in one word. What's your word?
Ooh, gosh. Intentional.
That ties right into everything. That was a good one. That was easy to spot.
Yes, well, I think I lucked out with how easily it came to me, but I really feel like that does sum up kind of how I'm navigating my days right now.
All
And
right.
me, that's me.
Love it. Zanna's favorite quote.
Oh gosh, always be thinking about how you can be doing things better. And I believe, I don't know if I'm quoting it perfectly, but that was an Elon Musk quote that I followed for 10 years before. I don't even think I really knew who he was. I just happened upon the quote and liked it. And now obviously we all, are more aware of who he is.
All right. If you get a theme song, and actually, I remember you did this on your show way back in the day. If you get a theme
Yes,
song,
yes.
what is your song?
Oh, it depends on the day because I have such musical brain, but a theme song for me, kind of my vibe right now. Oh gosh, that is so hard. Um, I know that this is super silly, but it's called Bare Feet. And it's by Caroline Jones, and it's just the most upbeat, fun song. But I love using it to ground to, and it just kind of celebrates that I was given these 2 feet, or these two things, my feet, to dance and walk around barefoot and connect with the earth. And I just feel like I don't know, it just makes me tap my toes. It makes me happy, and I like incorporating that even here with some experiences. But yeah, I think that kind of sums up how I feel like I'm skipping through life now. And again, that doesn't mean there's not hard days, but that song and vibe is totally kind of where I'm at right now.
I have to look that one up. I like it. All right. Favorite book or
You
current
will
book?
love favorite. Well, gosh, right now, it's probably one of my favorites, and I recently read it, which is Let Them by Mel Robbins. What a great read, great concept. Yeah, and it kind of aligns with my so what now what spirit.
Yeah. All right. You get to have dinner with one person. Who are you having dinner with, and what do you want to ask them?
Dinner with one person, and what do I want to ask? Gosh, I love that you put us on the spot with these, so we don't have time to think in advance. Honestly, I would love to have dinner with Dolly Parton. I just talk about a lady who is just, well, she's ageless, and I don't know that I want to age quite like she has, but I still admire her. She's just so true to her. And I would be so disappointed if she was anything less than a genuine, sincere person that wishes well for everyone. And of course, with my musical talent, or my musical love, no musical talent, what an icon she is. And she actually sings another one of my theme songs. I don't know why I didn't think of this, but She's an Eagle When She Flies is definitely one of my theme songs as well. And so I think I would love to know or sit down and visit with her.
That'd be yeah. I can't imagine you'd have a boring conversation or a lack of upbeatness with her.
I can't imagine. I think she's gonna run till she goes to sleep and doesn't wake up someday. She just goes for it.
All right, you feeling warmed up, Zanna?
I am warmed up.
All right, I wanted to start with something that I think it was a quote maybe I saw from you somewhere, but it says changing the world one heart at a time.
Yes.
What does that obviously what does it mean to you deeper? And then when did you realize that you could actually do that?
Yeah, I think that is a quote that I kind of incorporate into the message and vibe here at Thrive Ranch. And um, I realized it just because I recognized it within myself, right? I've been through some challenges and some really dark moments, and ultimately some dark seasons where I felt pretty broken. And it took going in, turning inward to really discover some things within myself to move through that. And in that, I feel like I changed my heart, and I see that there are some really simple things we can be doing to kind of take our power back and ultimately shift our heart, right? Our heart is our heart, and I think we always have that innate goodness and purpose in there, but I think we can lose sight of that sometimes. And I think it's easy, especially when it's so almost encouraged in the world that we live in today, to point fingers and be a victim of something, right? Which robs us of our power, in my opinion. And I have allowed those kind of spaces to rob me of my power, where I, wasn't taking responsibility for maybe a circumstance that was beyond my control, that I was legitimately maybe a victim of, but I was giving my power up to stay there. And when I realized just really simple shifts, what I kind of refer to as our three superpowers, which is kind of getting grounded, taking responsibility for what I can control, even though there are elements that aren't in my control, and then just gratitude, shifting those things helped me change how I navigated my day and my world and my heart. And I feel like how I radiate when I'm in that kind of space ripples out to others and they feel that. And I think it helps them to kind of take that on. And then that ripple continues and ultimately can change the world. I recognize there is evil and, there's some ugly things. I'm not naive to that. But I still think that the more that we're focusing inward on being the best version of ourselves and encouraging others and empowering others to do the same, we can even shift some of that evil. Maybe not all of it, but a lot of it.
Oh, that's so good. As I'm listening to you talk about that, I start thinking, was there a time that young Zanna knew that she might be different from everybody else and that you had this innate desire to change the world?
No, I don't know that. So, I mean, definitely not on the scale of I think I can change the world. That I didn't know was in me. I think that young 6-year-old Zanna I was very, very shy growing up. In fact, I moved around a lot, went to 10 plus schools growing up. I was the girl with no tongue, was what they called me at one school. I remember because I was so shy. They just thought I couldn't talk, which is ironic today because I love to chat. But anyways, I do remember kind of discovering my power. So it's interesting you ask that. And kind of gathering my little friends together and putting on a play for the class and kind of found a little spark within myself, probably around 7 years old. And then, like so many kids do, my parents got divorced. And I feel like that stability unraveled for me. And I really went inward. And that's when I became the girl with no tongue. And that said, I remained that very shy girl for a very long time. And then fast forward, um, I met Jeff in high school, and he definitely brought me out of my shell a bit. But it took even more. I actually just recently had this conversation, and I don't even know that I had fully reflected on this being so key to being where I am today. But when Jeff and I met, we were 15 and 16, and I'm so grateful to have gotten to grow together and shape each other in certain ways. But I also, getting together so young, was half of Jeff and Zanna. And I don't think, until later years did I really figure out who I was outside of that. And I could have told you in my early 20s when we got married in our early 20s, and I loved, oh gosh, it was everything I could have dreamed of at the time. But I would have told you if you asked me what my dreams are, I would have rattled off this whole list of things. But the reality is at that point in time, those weren't my dreams. Those were my parents' dreams, Jeff's dreams, everyone's dreams but my own. The only dream that I knew that I actually had was that I wanted to be a wife and mom, and I wanted to create a family that was more stable than the one I came from. That's the only thing I did know that was on my heart. Everything else, I didn't even have a clue. And I don't think I even allowed myself to explore that. And not to anyone's fault, but my own. I was in my comfort zone. So I just didn't push myself out of that. And that's why today I'm so passionate about opportunities to myself get out of my comfort zone, but also nudge others to get out of their comfort zone. Cause that I feel like is where I began scratching the surface of figuring out who I am and what lights me up and considering what was possible. And that was probably my early 30s that I started scratching that surface. And it was a season where we went through our growing pains as all married couples do, and kind of that shaky ground. And in that season, I was like, gosh, I don't even know who I am outside of Jeff and Zanna. He had found his career and really defined himself. And I was a wife and a mom, and that was beautiful. But outside of that, I did not know who I was. And I'm so grateful for that shaky season because it propelled me into kind of exploring that. And in that, when we found our way through that season, because we were willing to do the work and come out better for it. I was more my own person, and it was like this opportunity for us to each fall in love with each other over again. And we've done that over and over again through time as we grow and evolve. But anyway, I began scratching the surface of who I am. And that's when I began realizing that I had a little spark that people paid attention to, and I wanted to harness that to do good.
Oh, I love it. And you definitely have a spark, my friend. I love you guys, and I love your spark. But I want to go back before we go forward, because I find that people struggle a lot with this. People will get to that moment you had, right, where you're maybe not being who you want to be, but you're living up to what everybody else expects you to be, and they don't give themselves permission to move beyond others' expectations to truly figure themselves out. So how did you give yourself grace to go out of the comfort zone, as you call it, to get out of your safety, to go, wait, there's more for me over here. I might stumble, I might fall down, I might make a mistake or two, but it's worth pursuing. How did you allow yourself the freedom to do that?
That's a really good question. I don't think it was a conscious decision. It was just a moment in time where everything, the path that I thought was the path, I realized isn't necessarily the path. It can be the path, right? There's no right path or wrong path, but, and I think you and I and Andrea have even talked about this a little bit, but we're kind of told as we go through life that there's this promise of success. You do this and then you do that and you check this box and you check that box, and that is the path and the promise of success. And I did a lot of those things and then found myself still going, but something, I'm not in alignment, right? And I couldn't have used that word then, but now I can identify it as that. There was just something within me that was still needing to bloom, and I had no idea what it was. And it took that shaky ground. And I think that's true for everyone, right? And even with Jeff, it was the same thing. I think he found his calling and his path with lots of pivots too. But we took some major left turns along the way in career paths, and just growing pains, coming together, growing together and growing apart, and then finding our way back together. But I actually was just talking to a young woman recently, and she's going through a season where she's questioning it all, right? Because she's done the things. She went to school, she got the degree, she got the master's, she has a vision for what her career is going to be, and it's not all falling into place, and she's there, and it's not what she thought it was going to be. And I think so many people, myself included, just think, well, yeah, but this is just what it is when you are doing adulting, right? And but maybe it's not. Maybe we're settling when we just keep checking the boxes and settle for that comfortable misery. And I'm not saying I was miserable per se, but I knew that there was more, and Jeff knew that there was more. And what I'm rambling about is if you're going through something hard right now, and I went through a hard season that kind of is what made me start scratching the surface of there's more inside of me. Those are such blessings, because when it's easy, we don't reflect, right? When it's going good, we're not reflecting, we're just going through the motions. And so when those hard seasons creep up, what I know is that it is not for it or to us, it really is for us, as painful as they may be. And yeah, there were some really painful seasons, but that is where I began figuring out who I was, what my strength was, my resilience was. And so I say, when you find yourself in a hard season moment, whatever it is, know that that is such a blessing. And when you're hitting that rock bottom and you're on your knees and you're crying and don't know the next move, there isn't a next move other than to feel it. I think a lot of us can pursue numbing that, right? And putting on a band-aid or buying a thing or taking, having an adventure, an escape. And all those things are great. The things are great. The adventures are great, but not if it's to numb what you need to feel, to walk through what you need to walk through. And so my whole point is I began discovering who, as you say, Zanna is, and that I'm supposed to change the world in my own right, as we all are, going through the hard season. And so embrace it, because that is where we find out so much about ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I noticed is when I try to live or do what my plan was, what I thought I was supposed to do, a lot of times I will be in conflict with whatever you want to call it, God, the universe, whatever I'm being pulled. And a lot
Yeah.
of times I found that my better self is when I say, hey, I'm just going to show up today, do what
Yeah.
I do, but I don't need to control where everything goes. That
Yep.
life becomes easier for me.
100%, because so much is not in our control, and so you can't be let down when you're just showing up as your best self. And man, when you do that, the opportunities and the miracles that you witness and the things that come your way, because you're more eyes open instead of nose down to checking that next box, it's a game changer.
So, how do you know, Zanna? How do you know if you're your best you today? Do you have any like check ins or metrics? Or like, wait a second, I'm off today. Let me reset myself.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think you just, if you're honest with yourself, and that's another thing, right? How many of us are not honest with ourselves on a daily
Mm-hmm.
basis? And I know there were seasons I definitely wasn't. Um, but yeah, I think if I lay down at the end of the day and just feel satisfied, even if I didn't check all the boxes that I set out for that day, but I felt like I was in action towards, where my heart is pulling me, and even if it's a baby step, and for me, I know I'm not in alignment if I'm not pouring healthy things into myself, if I'm not working out and honoring my body. And does that mean that I give myself grace? There's days I did not make the gym today because I came home on a red eye last night. I did shovel a lot of poop, so that kind of counts. But um, I think that when you're not in alignment, and when you're not showing up as your best self. In fact, I will share this with you because this kind of answers the question that you just asked me. And the young woman that I have kind of been chatting with that's struggling, I asked her this. And me and my musical brain, actually, when she shared a little bit of where she's at with me, I tend to hear songs singing in my head. I know this makes me sound cuckoo, but like I just have a song lyric for every experience, right? And so what she was sharing with me, I heard the song Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston. And I don't know if you're familiar with that song. But I think what she was walking through is, I don't think she's showing up as what she knows is her best self. She's out of alignment, but because she's not in love with herself right now. And I think that is so key, is to love yourself, but you have to be showing up in a way that we genuinely can love ourselves, right? And so I invited her. I'm going to read this to you because it just seems so relevant, and it's kind of how I do check in with myself as well. Let me find it, because I feel like I encourage her to just listen to that song, because we don't have anything to give until we can appreciate ourselves. And we are the only one that can be truly honest with ourselves of if we are really living in alignment and showing up as our best self. And so anyway, I she was pretty emotional, and I just said, you know what? This is a good thing. It's good because you're out of alignment and you're recognizing it. So this is where you get the opportunity to do something different. And so I just encouraged her to take some time and consider how she's showing up for herself, how she can love herself more, and be really, really honest with herself. Because until we are, you know, we're not going to be in alignment. And so there's days where I'm like, I look in the mirror and I'm like, yeah, you didn't do it. You didn't do it today, but that's okay, because you're going to do it tomorrow, right? You can't dwell on it if you don't show up as your best self today, but you can do better tomorrow. But you cannot do better tomorrow if you're making excuses and pointing the finger outward as to why you didn't show up as your best self today. Um,
And I think you hit on a key component there that I found in my life when Andrew and I made the switch to get kind of out of the routine life that we had, where businesses and houses and
yeah,
running everything to just traveling. Something that you said there that I 100% agree with is you give yourself time.
Mm-hmm.
right? That time, that space to check in with yourself. Because just like we talked about earlier, you can numb yourself from your truth through alcohol, drugs, whatever. Or what I
Yeah.
found is very prevalent is we numb ourselves to our truth by staying busy. We're so busy doing all these things that now we can kind of hide and lie to ourselves and
Right.
say I don't have to work on me. I just don't have time to work on me right now. I'm so busy here. And what happens, right, is like if I say that today and then tomorrow, progressively I get further from my truth
Yes.
to where when I actually do want to work on myself, I don't even know who the hell I am.
100%. And numb out on social media, right? Like just check out in the scroll, and then you're comparing yourself to
Mm.
everyone's, you know, perfect version of what they're putting out there, right? Because let's be honest, we don't really put all the yuck out there, and you're comparing yourself to someone else's perfect version that you don't know what's going on behind the scenes for them either.
Mm-hmm. You had another quote that I saw that I really loved, and I want to explore this. And before I get to your quote, I want to say, like, it reminds me of this quote is that we greatly overestimate what we can do in a day while we greatly underestimate what we can get done in a year.
Sure.
Right. And I like that because in getting ready for this, you would put that you were choosing forever in your
Mm.
marriage. But I'd also say, like, you're choosing forever in your life, knowing that this is a long process, which means we make small changes every day.
Yes.
So when did you, like, how did you come up with that choosing forever? How do you use that to, one, for your own guidance, and two, to help the people around you?
Well, I wish I could identify the moment, and I wish I could bottle that paradigm shift because, man,
Mm.
how impactful, how could we change the world with, a little elixir that we could take where we really just kind of shift and harness things in a different way. Um, for me, I just, somewhere along the way, it really clicked with me. And I don't know the moment, but going through the hard things, that it is a choice. Everything is a choice. And in our family, we encompass the phrase, so what, now what? And that's super powerful in our lives. And even though that's a motto in our home, there, despite that, we even recently have walked through a challenging growing year where it was easy to lose sight of that, even though we believe in it wholeheartedly. That's the thing. Even when you get it, you still can fall off the horse sometimes and kind of get out of alignment in it. And it's a choice to get back on. And the forever, choosing to ever evolve. Because that to me is what your dream life is. It's not waking up in paradise every day. For me, it's not. I mean, maybe for someone it is, but how boring would it be to just have perfection every day? So I even kind of defined and thrive, right? And I think this kind of comes back to that. Um, I did the whole, oh gosh, what is it when you do as a kid where you do do a word like down and then a word out for each thing. There's a phrase for it, but
Right.
it's escaping me right now. Anyway, thriving for me is the T is being thankful. When you walk through each day with a lens of gratitude, it really shifts how you experience the world, and it also shifts how you show up in the world. And so that's huge to me. The H in thriving for me is being healthy, but not just, it's healthy mind, body, and soul, right? Doing
Mm.
things every day. And even if it's 5 minutes to just stretch and get barefoot, you don't have time for that hour-long workout at the gym or whatever, but honoring your body every day and what you're putting in it, all of those things, what you're feeding your mind. And then the R for thriving is resilience. And I think we need to be cultivating that in ourselves, but also in our children. We were talking about our kids before we started today, and there's no blueprint for being a parent, and I certainly don't have all the answers, but I am grateful that we instilled resilience in our kids, and we were able to do that, or they were able to obtain that, just like myself, through failure,
Mm.
and so we have to have room to fall down to discover our resilience. And that's kind of coming back to that, being able to embrace uncertainty in hard times, knowing that that's for us because we get to forge that strength and resilience. And then for me, is being inspired every day, right? And when we stop being inspired, to me, we're definitely just surviving at that point, right? And I don't want to be just surviving. I want to be thriving, not every minute of every day, but a little bit every day. And then be victorious. Kind of circling back to resilience, but you can't be victorious if you don't overcome hard things. And I think that is just so key to thriving. And then the last is E, for evolving. And that's kind of that choice. Coming back to that choice is, I want to be learning and growing all the time. I don't have it all figured out. In fact, the only thing I do have figured out is that I don't know much, right? And there's so much to learn. And I've been wrong and I'll be wrong again. And just learning to pivot and grow and ever evolving. And that's true in our marriage. So when I say I'm choosing forever, gosh, we were 15 and 16 when we fell in love. We've had many seasons and many lifetimes, and we're both ever evolving, and our relationship is ever evolving. Choosing me is ever evolving, right? Choosing to take this leap of faith and move this funny farm across the country on kind of intuition. I don't know. It's everything is a choice, and it's what we do with it. Good, bad, or ugly. We get to choose how we respond to it.
Yeah, and what I took from reading that Choosing Forever and listening to you is you knew this was a lifelong process. There was no quitting tomorrow. There's no easy way out. So either we're going to work and make this what we want, or we're not going to be happy, but we're here. You know what I mean? And I think too many times, because everything in life can be so temporary, we kind of have this temporary lens on so many things that we don't fix the relationships around us. We don't fix how we talk to ourselves. We don't make the changes we know. But if we woke up every day and said, okay, this, what I do today, it's going to pay dividends 50 years from now. It's going to change relationships. You would do stuff, right?
Well, I would. I don't know. Maybe not everyone. Some people really do prefer to stay in that miserable comfort, right? They really do. And it's so sad because it's familiar. At least they know it. But for me, I would rather get uncomfortable and have the hard conversations, even if it means saying what I don't want to say or hearing what I don't want to hear, because I can't improve if I can't hear how I am or am not showing up for my partner, and vice versa. And we, it's been a very challenging year for us this year because we had a lot of moving parts. We've been apart more than we're together physically for this year. And that was a choice that we made. But for extenuating circumstances, but it came at a cost. And then we had to choose to do the work to navigate that. And again, it was a season that came for us. I wholeheartedly believe that because it forced some additional hard conversations and where do we want to steer this ship together, and recognizing how I could show up better for Jeff and how he could show up better for me. And also kind of stories we were telling ourselves about each other and making ourselves right, which was this whole little mushroom versus if we had just had the hard conversation up front. Well, and we were trying to have the hard conversations. Actually, we have learned enough to have the hard conversations, but we weren't communicating it in a way that the other one could fully hear it. And so we had to kind of revisit how to even just explain it in a way that it computed for the other one, right? So it's work. It is hard work. And I'm not someone that thinks you should stay miserably married for the sake of staying married, right? But I believe that you should fight like hell to have the best marriage you can and enjoy the heck out of each other and help each other grow. And there's no better place to grow than in a relationship. I joke with Jeff. I just told him, I'm like, it feels like God's up there going, ha ha ha, let's put these people together with these completely different perspectives and then watch them do life together. Like, this is good reality TV show he gets to sit and watch up there, and it's true, but man, how easy would it be if we were both exactly the same all the time on all the things? And so, yeah, we're learning and growing and choosing each other.
And I love that because you're growing, right? And you're giving each other space to grow and become new people while staying together. And I would say anybody that's listening, that's been one of the things that Andrea and I think have done very well is share our dreams that are individual so that the other can support the dream, right? So we know we're growing on the same path, not I have my dreams over here and she has her dreams over there and there's no interlap. Well, then we're growing apart, especially when you add in the stress of raising kids where they come first for so many years. And then all of a sudden they leave the house and you're like, wait, who is this stranger I'm married to? And why don't we have anything in common? Well, that shit happens. But what you can do is say, okay, what do we want to do next? What does this next chapter look like? How do we dream?
Yeah.
And like I get so many compliments, kind of like we were talking earlier, like, man, just the craziness that you guys sold everything and just travel all the time and live this life. And I tell everybody that listens, it was not my dream. This has never been my dream. This was Andrea's dream. This is something her little brain concocted, but now what's my role as a good husband wanting to spend my life with her is, shit, I'll support it. So how do I support it? I got to learn some new stuff.
Yeah.
Which then makes me grow, which now I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty fun. I didn't even know. And I think too many times we want to have our own dreams.
Yeah.
But sometimes supporting somebody else's is even more magical.
So true. So true. And it's a ebb and flow, right? It's a give and take. And sometimes it's your turn, sometimes it's their turn. Sometimes it's such alignment, it's your turn together. But yeah, it's a dance. There's another song bouncing around my head.
Did you hear Garth Brooks when you said that? Because I heard Garth Brooks.
It's actually Michael Martin Murphy or David Mike. I don't know, something Michael.
You know the dance from Garth Brooks, though, right?
Michael Montgomery. Oh, I know the dance from Garth Brooks. That's another.
So good.
We're just gonna make a whole soundtrack for this episode. Put it all together.
All right. When did you, or talk me through learning to trust your faith and your intuition, not just for you, but in how you're raising your boys? Because I love what they're doing, right? Like they're out living life on their own. They're very independent, very, just like very successful because they're taking risks. They're not afraid of it. So when did you learn to trust it yourself and that carryover, right? That ripple we talked about where now all of a sudden our kids are doing things they saw you do.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, that's part of the evolution, right? It was part of evaluating if the boxes we were checking were actually getting us where we wanted to be. And that evaluation again came from finding ourselves in a hard season after Jeff was injured in the line of duty and just being like, wait a minute, is this our perfect canvas? Is this how we want to raise our children? Is this it? And it wasn't. And so we took that initial leap of faith and moved our family to Montana from California at that time. And I think earlier in Jeff and my life, we did a lot of leaps of faith like that. But that one I feel like was such a huge pivotal one for us in as parents and, as partners and showing our kids. That move showed our kids that you're never too intertwined in a community, and we love our family and we have such great extended family, and we walked away from all of that because we feel the world is small, right? So we still can go back and we can see everyone, and as life gets busier, sometimes that's fewer and farther between. But my sister and I live farther apart than we ever have, but we're more connected than we ever have because our time together is so intentional and meaningful, and we have great conversations. But that leap of faith to Montana, I think, was when we really, really got so clear on trusting our gut and no certain plan with that leap. We were set up enough that we knew we could move and we had enough funds to figure it out, right? We had enough funds to take some time to figure it out. Our kids were in 5th and 7th grade at the time. So, and they had been at the same school up to that point from kindergarten on. So that was all they had known. And they saw Jeff and I create something from nothing. We created something from nothing there. And I think that's when we realized a house is just a house, a job is just a job. And it's all about figuring it out and creating and um, thinking outside the box. That's huge for us now. It's like, okay, here's the box, and the box is great sometimes, right? But sometimes you need to be evaluating the box, and if it makes sense to be there, or if there's a better way that might require going outside of that box. And we've discovered more and more that stepping outside of that box serves us really, really well. And our kids have learned that it serves them really, really well. And yeah, they're 19 and 21, and they moved to Nashville last year and are making their way. And they didn't also have the full plan. They knew the vision, and then life them. And, they had the vision of how it was going to go. And obviously it's been more challenging than they thought it was going to be initially. But again, what a blessing, because it's been such an opportunity for them to learn, pivot, navigate. And they aren't afraid to take a risk because they know the worst that happens is they fall down, and then they get to get back up and do it better because they know more. And that's what we've learned too.
That's an amazing lesson for our kids, right? Is not to, I don't want to say helicopter, but pad everything so if they fall, it doesn't hurt at all, right? No, when they fall, I want them to feel a little pain.
Exactly. And I think, you recently walked through, raising children, as did we. And I think with the best of intentions, kind of our school system and so many spaces, we're kind of trying to protect them from the pain. And there's another song in my head called I Wish You Pain by Andy Grammer. And it's so spot on, because he's saying, I love you so much, I wish you pain, because only through experiencing pain can you experience the counterpart to that, which is true joy and discover your strength and your resilience. And I think it's a balancing act. Of course, we don't want the worst things to happen to our kids, and we hate seeing them hurt, but how much more empowering is it to them to know how to navigate pain and face fear. I used to aspire to be fearless, and I, now, discount that word. I feel like it's more about being courageous, because we all have fear and there's no escaping that. It's about walking through it despite the fear. And I think our kids from us have really learned to harness that.
Yeah, and that's where you're going to learn resilience, right? Resilience is such a big word right now. It's going around workplaces, and everybody wants resilient workforces and resilient kids. Well, nobody gets resilient from easy,
No,
right? It only
nope,
comes from difficult stuff.
100%.
So I can give you resilience definitions. I can let you watch people do tough stuff on videos that show their resilience, but you will never learn to believe in yourself, trust the people around you, until you're in a dark, difficult spot.
Absolutely. And, coming back to kind of what you asked me before, when did I discover that about myself? I started discovering that the light that I have in the hard spot, so.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the best things we can do as parents is put ourselves in position where we're not just telling the kids about it, but we're demonstrating. They're seeing us pack up our family, right? Because that's what they're going to, you could tell kids all you want, but what you're doing is what they're watching.
Exactly. 100%. And now we're learning from our kids, and it's so fun, to have those roles reversed a little bit, and they're, challenging our status quo sometimes. And it's just so cool to be able to have these very meaningful conversations about taking the chances and taking these leaps and manifesting, for lack of better words, right? Because you're so intentional with your vision, and seeing things come to life for them. And it's just so awesome and inspiring.
What I love about it, and I don't know if you're there yet or if you're on the verge, is we're to the point now where our kids are more like friends. Like our parenting is kind of over with.
Right.
Now we get to
Yeah,
just,
we're
what's that? I'm sorry.
like we're there too, kind of. Yeah, it's just really awesome.
I'm not worried about, hey, do you have enough gas in your car? Like, I'm not worried about the parent things. I can sit down and, like you said, like, share with me your beliefs on this. Why do you believe that? Like, why, and really get to understand their perspectives.
Yeah, and I think, it allows them to gravitate back towards us too, right? Like, I don't know of what your experience has been, but there's times where when you're in an environment where, with the best of intentions, people are trying to tell you what to do and how to do it. I don't know about you, but I kind of push from that. And um, so, with our kids, we really don't. And I'm very conscious of that, right? They are, even if I don't, for instance, they got street bikes. And of course, as a mom, I'm like, dear Lord, please don't get street bikes, right? Like, I hate it, but it's not my place. They have to learn their lessons and go their path, and I hope they survive it all. And but it's just I have to stop being the parent, and they've got to take the risks, and that's when for me, I'm just like, well, I don't like that risk, but it's not for me to say anymore. And yeah, just so they gravitate towards us because we can be friends and we can have these meaningful conversations, but we aren't there to tell them how to live their life anymore. We did that job is done.
Yeah. No, it's funny you mentioned pushing back with people try to tell you what to do. My wife and my mom they would just smile at that comment because if you want to see me not do something, tell me. Like actually did an episode on this. 3 phrases I would eliminate from vocabulary is you should, right? If I tell you should, now I'm decision making for you. I would. If I'm telling you I would, it means I'm not in the process. So what am I waiting for? And you or I can't. Like if I hear any of those 3 phrases, I'm really not interested in anything else.
Yep. I'm right there with you. Basically, you got to basically tell me the opposite if that's the case, right? Because one thing I don't like is to be told what to do. And I might be wrong, and that is okay, but I need to figure it. I need to fall on my face if that's what I need to do to figure it out. But also, there's more than one way to do things. So who am I to tell my kids how to do it now that they are grown? And even when they were little, I think that's why they turned out to be pretty incredible young men, is because, of course, we guided them. We had rules, and there were some hard no's and things, but for the most part, I'll yeah, let them fall down.
Yeah. Well, here's something I will tell you about your street bikes because so our son Trey he got into motorcycles, and I'm not a motorcycle guy. Andrea isn't. We had the same fear, like, oh my gosh, this is gonna end up crazy, whatever. Well, it turned out all right. He sold them, never got hurt, so we thought that was the end of it. Well, when him and his girlfriend traveled to Asia this year, motorbikes are the way to get around town because traffic's so terrible. So he was thankful that he had it because now he had a skill that the two of them could actually go explore. So it worked out all right.
Yeah. Yes, and I believe that too. And yeah, they're finding their way. And again, you come back to that faith and intuition. And I choose to most of the time just trust that we're all on our journey, and we can't control all the scary things. But that one, I think Jeff totaled one when he was 21 when we were kids. And so I'm just like, oh, I know there's not testing that thing to the absolute gamut because, no matter how logical one is, they get something like that and they're going to push it to the limit because that's just what, especially you guys like to do.
Yes, you're in it, my friend. You're in it.
Yes.
All right. Well, Zanna, before I let you go, I want to touch base because one of the things I really love about you is you're continuing to serve and give back through Thrive Ranch and Honor the Brave. So
Yes.
share with us if you want about the programs and how our community can get involved with them and continue to, like as we said, change the world, one day, one action at a time.
Yeah, and thank you for the opportunity to share about it. Well, all of it. Obviously, my first hat and heart project has been Honor the Brave, and that was formed after Jeff, my husband, was entered in the line of duty and his career came to an end. My background was real estate, and so it was really just a way in the aftermath of him losing his career. And that is one of those challenging dark seasons, that I spoke of earlier, to just stay connected and give back to our first responder and military community through the skill set that I had, which was real estate. Following our move to Montana, we went nationwide with that. So what that looks like is if you're a current or previous first responder, military, we provide what we call brave benefits. If you're buying or selling a home anywhere in the country at this point, we have realtor partners everywhere. If you're going to buy or sell, we can align you with a vetted realtor that shares our values, that wants the opportunity and values the opportunity to honor the sacrifice and service of our first responder military communities. So we give 10% of the agent commission back as a thank you for your service. An additional 5% is donated to a charity that you, the client, would choose that impacts first responder or military families in some capacity. And then we have an active duty Marine, Cody, who builds every one of our flags with so much love for our clients as a closing gift. And so we do the beautiful American flag. We do a wooden thin blue line, thin red line. And just our goal with that program is to create an experience of appreciation through what we would all be doing anyway, which is real estate transactions. And then hopefully that ripple effect impacting charities that are doing some great things for these communities. And then Thrive Ranch has kind of been my evolution. When we moved to Montana, I joke that if you let your wife get goats, it could turn into a fun. So we began with a few goats as just something fun to get on the land that we purchased in Montana, and it's turned into a menagerie of Highland cows, alpacas, cooney pigs, which stands for fat and round in the native language of New Zealand, which is exactly what they are. They're like so ugly, they're cute. And then what else do we have? We have the black nose / fillets sheep, the super cute fluffy ones, and all the fun things, chickens, ducks, all of it. So super passion project for me, but I started just experiencing myself, how impactful it was for my soul to spend time with these beautiful souls. And in that, felt it was on my heart to create some experiences for others to kind of just enjoy that experience as well. It's evolved into so much more. We took a leap of faith and moved this whole crew from Montana to Georgia last year. Never saw myself leaving Montana. I love it. It has my heart forever. But my heart is big enough for a couple places, and Georgia is where I'm supposed to do this next chapter. And speaking to intuition, it's really intuition that brought me here, because that's really all I can say. I know that this is where I'm supposed to do what I'm doing. And so we've had a lot of moving parts making it all work. But Thrive Ranch, there's a lot happening here from experiences. I've created some revive days. I share all of our life lessons from the Funny Farm on social media. There's so many miracles and just things to observe here that we can incorporate into our life. I'm all about really simple concepts that can help us reflect and grow and be cultivating our dreams. And I observe a lot of that right here with all these animals. So from that, again, you can come for an experience. You can follow all of our shenanigans online. I have what I call my best life buckets. And so that is something that I sell. And my heart, talk about changing the world one heart at a time. I know that these are supposed to be in every home and every office and every classroom, at least the concept of them throughout the world in my perfect vision, but as many places as they can. And it's kind of a spin on fill your cup, but we have so many buckets around here. We fill our buckets. And so we have the dream bucket, we have the let it go bucket, and we have the gratitude bucket. And so when you come here for an experience, you can have the opportunity to, if you take a minute to write something down, it actually just helps bring it that much more to life. And so when you take a minute to consider a dream or a goal or a passion that's on your heart and write it out and add it to our dream buckets here. Or if you have a dream bucket set at home, and do that with your family. It's really fun, the conversations you can have with the people you love around these things. And then the let it go bucket, same, you can write it down, something that's heavy, something that's not serving you, and you can add it to our let it go bucket around here. We end up burning everything that goes in that bucket. We don't look at what's in that bucket because we want whoever is releasing whatever they need to release to feel safe to put anything on that paper. But then we give it back to the universe and release it by burning it. And then we have the gratitude bucket, which is self-explanatory, but the more that we're paying attention in our days to what there is to be grateful for, the more that shows up. It's the lens that we look through the world, or look at the world through. So those are our best life buckets, which you can experience here. I also sell them. And then we now have the Thriver Tribe, which is really big on my heart, because there's just not enough hours in the day to have all the lessons and experiences here. So the Thriver Tribe is a community where we're all cultivating our dreams together. And all of those things are things you can explore at thrivebranch.co.
I love it. I'm just super proud of you guys. I love watching your journey. I love the energy that you bring to everything you touch. And no doubt you are, my friend, creating ripples that will change the world.
And I'm so grateful for that. Thank you.
But I want to ask, before we wrap up, what would today's Zanna tell the Zanna in her lowest moments? If she could go back in time, what advice would you give that self?
I would say you're stronger than you know. And I promise whatever you're afraid of right now is the thing you need to step into, because you're going to find your power and you're kind of a badass.
I love it. Zanna, thank you so much for joining us this week. It's a pleasure to catch up with you again, to share your story. And we're just so proud of you guys.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. And yeah, love continuing this relationship. Have a good day.
And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.